You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
All right, Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time, man. So tell our listeners something interesting about yourself.
Yeah. So a little fact about me, I've always been kind of a nerdy kid. I've always had these, random weird hobbies. And in middle school, I think it was, I learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube, like learning how to do it. And when I was really good at it, I can't do it anymore. I used to be able to do it in under 30 seconds.
What?
Yeah, which I wish I still could do because it would make for like a good party trick if someone just has one lying around. But
I haven't been able to do that in about under 30 plus years, so that's awesome. Very cool, man. Yeah. Awesome. Do you still play around with it?
Yeah, if I see one, it's like this urge. I'm like, I have to solve it.
I bet you legitimately make me want to buy one right now. I'm gonna jump on Amazon after this, so I can now I'm challenged to like, man, I got to be able to do this. If Lucas is knocking this out, do people call you Luke or Lucas, by the way?
Lucas, yep.
Okay, very cool. So Lucas, what does your company do? Tell us a little bit about what your company does, what kind of value it brings to the marketplace.
Yeah, for sure. So Growth Cave is basically a digital marketing consultancy / agency. We help business owners with their marketing, get more leads, get more customers, primarily focused on paid advertising. So the majority of the clients that we work with, we're helping them set up Facebook ad campaigns to help them get more leads, get more clients into their business.
Okay, very cool. And so when did you start the company?
I think it was a year and a half ago. It was around June of 2017. So in about 6 months, it'll be 2 years officially.
You seem like a young guy. You've been like obviously understanding the digital marketing world probably for some time now. What made you compelled you to kind of jump into the digital marketing space? Yeah.
So the thing that kind of motivated me, I was working when I kind of first got into it. I was working an internship at this tech company that spends a ton of money on Facebook ads, like around $250,000 each month.
Wow.
And to manage that ad spend, they were paying a digital marketing agency around 8% of the ad spend, which, if you do the math on it, it works out to around like $18,000 a month. And as an intern, I got to sit in on all the check-in calls that my company did with the agency. I got to see like how they managed the account. And it really kind of interested me. I'd always kind of like had this itch for marketing, kind of always wanted to like start my own business, kind of work for myself. And I picked up a lot of the skills kind of while I was there. I saw how they interacted with the client. And that was kind of how I got my start in learning about it.
Tell me some growth spurts. Have you had anything where you kind of felt like you've kind of hit some pretty big speed bumps or hit rock bottom since you started?
Yeah. There's definitely been some months, when I was kind of earlier on in the business, when I definitely didn't have, proper systems set up that would constantly have leads come to me. There were definitely some of those feast or famine periods, which I think any service business owner can relate to. 1 month, I was making a ton of money. I was killing it. I was like looking at like Teslas and BMWs. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so rich. And then the next month, I was thinking about like, oh, do I have to like cancel my gym membership? Am I be able to like afford groceries? All of this sorts of stuff. And it all comes with a learning lesson. It's like, if I didn't go through these periods, then I would have never, been inspired to learn more and to actually set up proper marketing for my own business, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, I think that was probably like, one of the biggest problems that I had, at least.
So would you say that overcoming that was kind of the systems and processes in place to make sure people were happy, they were getting what they needed, that things like, I think a lot of startups within a year, for example, very, very much in infancy, and you recognize that. It's, where can you grow? How can you scale? But a lot of that has to do with knowing there's so much automation out there, keeping people happy with a few different automated pieces and touching them as much as you can with email or a text message or a quick phone call. And then keeping them happy is one thing, then getting new customers in and replicating that process. Was that kind of a big hurdle for you initially, for those listening, kind of just starting something out to know that, well, I better be thinking about that in the horizon?
Yeah. And I think like, it's honestly like kind of like a mindset thing that like when you're kind of maybe in the earlier stages of the business, like it kind of like feels good to like keep working at things, it feels good to like send out the emails, to like do all like the little tasks. And it's not fun to like maybe build out a system that like maybe checks in with a client like once a week, or maybe like does a little bit of outreach, you know? And that's kind of like the difficult part of systems, is that, you know, they're not fun at all to do. Like, it's not fun work to put in the legwork, but once you've kind of got something good set up and, you know, it's working, it's like working every day, every week, then over time you're going to be doing less and less work. And I think that's the reason a lot of service business owners and a lot of freelancers kind of get stuck, is because it feels, you know, it just feels better to be doing the work you're supposed to be doing rather than building like business systems and business processes. But ultimately it's those systems and those processes that are necessary and what are going to allow you to grow. So it's just kind of something you have to do if you want to get into it.
You're right. I mean, as you start out, you know, Lucas, it's normal to be the chief everything officer, right? So, and you're sending those emails out because you're right. It feels good. You're like, I got a client, I want to keep them happy. And then the challenge becomes in the service industry, like you mentioned, even products as well, is today clients and customers and whatever you want to call them they expect the personalization. So how do you create automation with personalization, right? And so those challenges begin to embark. So those listeners that are listening that have a service or a product that might be starting out, realize that, listen, there's going to be growing pains, and they're all just speed bumps, right? The speed bumps are okay as long as you learn from them, you adapt, you shift, you pivot into making something work and create the system around it. But you hit it on the nail, I think, for sure. I'm a huge systems and processes guy. That's why I kind of dig into it. And I think that that's a really big angle where some people just don't get, and it's hard for them to get out of their business because they're so busy working within that same system. Tell us a little bit about, you know, give me a time where, not a time, I guess, but you know, you've done it a couple of years, right? And you have some entrepreneurship experience under your belt, which is awesome. Why do you think people, let's say there's an entrepreneur really struggling, why do you think there's businesses out there, or, you know, entrepreneurs that give up on their dreams, Lucas?
Yeah. There's a few reasons. I think one of the biggest that I see is just people getting into it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, I think one of the biggest trends nowadays is like everyone wants to be an entrepreneur for like the freedom, you know, the flexibility and the ability to like earn as much money as you want.
Oh, they like the word. They like the word to drop boss words on their Facebook and Instagram. Right?
Yep, like entrepreneur, business owner, and it's like I get that. It's like I feel like, you know, it's like I've never met an entrepreneur who didn't get into it for those reasons.
Sure,
but if those are your only reasons for getting into it, if you're like kind of only in it for the money, if you're just like, you know, if you're like, oh, I have a friend who did this and like I really hate my job, so I'm just going to try and like burn through this as quick as possible, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because, you know, no matter how smart you are, no matter how hardworking you are, and no matter what like economy or business you're in, there's always going to be struggles. And it's almost always the people that get into it for the wrong reasons that are going to quit like right when the smallest roadblock comes up, or maybe they have like a major roadblock that like if they had just put in a few more months, then they probably could have worked through it. I think, you know, like shiny object syndrome, and just, you know, not being willing to like put in the work to overcome obstacles is, you know, one of the biggest things that I see for people that kind of don't make it, or, you know, they maybe get into it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, sure. I think that backs into a lot of the hype around the why. And I think the hype is true around that. Like, why did you get into it? Or, you know, sometimes people say, you know, you gotta, it's in order to stick with something, you kind of gotta love it. If you don't, then like Steve Jobs said, any logical person, if you're not passionate about something, does something else because they don't like it anymore, right? And so it makes sense. It sounds like very simple, but it's true. And understanding that entrepreneurship can be about more than the money. And if you start realizing that you accept the patience and the journey and not just the long ROI end, then you're really going to have a good time doing it. And eventually the money's going to come because you just baby step your way into success, and you're going to find those failures. So that's great breakdown as far as why you're doing something and jumping in for the right reasons and not the wrong ones. So what are you excited about right now? I'm a big marketing guy. I'm a big marketing. I mean, I taught myself everything from the LinkedIn, the Snapchat, the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter platforms, right? Because initially I was the chief everything officer for my companies. And I still am very involved with our digital marketing guys because I like to stay afloat on top of the game because it allows me to be creative as an owner on knowing my demographics so well in the travel and the collegiate world. So that being said, what are you excited about right now in the digital marketing space? Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith. Go to michaelivas.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's michaelivas.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help.
Yeah. So one of the kind of big things I feel like for the last few years has been this concept of like messenger marketing and like chatbots and things like that, which for a while I kind of ignored because I'm usually like a very anti-hype guy, where like if I see something and everyone's like, oh, this is going to, kill everything else, this is like going to completely change the game, I'm like, okay, I bet in a few years, like no one will be talking about this.
Right.
But with messenger marketing and a lot of chatbots, that I think that first came out like 2016, 2017. That was the first big craze. And I'm still seeing people talk about how they're getting like better open rates with like Facebook messengers versus email, higher click rates, and, just better campaigns overall doing that. And the fact that I've seen a lot of people that run, similar businesses to me. Maybe they run marketing consultancies. Maybe they're like a personal trainer trying to get like clients online. I've seen a ton of people running campaigns with that. Whereas rather than going to the standard, opt-in to an email page, they're just running it right to a chatbot, which, I think that's one of the biggest testaments. It's like anyone could put up like an infographic and talk about how good chatbots are, but like when the biggest competitors in a space are starting to use it as their primary marketing methods, that's when I kind of start to take notice. So sure. I personally, I haven't done a ton with it. I've definitely just been like kind of playing around with it, seeing what kind of experiments I can pull together, but I definitely think it's a really unique space and something that could potentially grow over the next few years.
I think you're right. I've read a lot about the chatbot. We'll spend a little bit of time on this because it's a good angle and it's a good topic to chat about because a lot of people out there probably have tried it. I've tried it. I'm not saying that I've been successful with it. I'm not saying I've been unsuccessful with it, but I will say that I've A/B tested the hell out of everything, right? And so it's important because you put a little money towards something, even if it's $20 a day or $5 a day, to get it out there in front of a demo and just find out what people do. And then, of course, I think for business owners out there, making sure that you're measuring, at least you have the systems in place, unless you have someone obviously like Lucas putting those systems in place and those goals and those pixels and making sure we know what the hell is converting, right? And that's the tough part. So if you're a small business owner out there and you don't know what chatbots are, here's what they are. They're automation processes, and probably they're just like they're bots, but you can create those responses to what people are asking out of the gate. So you don't have to have a sales agent full-time, all-time online. However, people like the instant gratification world. So, you can also time those things when you are online. So you're actually converting those, or you're actually maybe even being responsive just after one or two messages, because what I've learned is that you might get a ton of responses, but those might be better off from a pixel and a response engagement rate just as much as it is, like, for example, if you watch a video for 30 plus seconds, you want to retarget those people, right, Lucas? And so that's a great way of doing it on a low price rate. But do you feel chatbots have the possibility to have conversions? I haven't had that experience, but I'd love to see if your thoughts are they could have a potential conversion. Is it on the chat widget, or is it simply that, listen, the follow-up process at that point to retarget them might be better?
Yeah, I've actually seen with a few businesses that we've worked with that people are converting right in the chat window, which, it obviously depends on like what you're selling, what your sales process looks like. But for a standard, service business where their like main goal with any form of marketing is to get someone qualified onto a phone call, then chatbots kind of shortcut a lot of that, versus over email where you're kind of like going back and forth. You can, it's kind of impersonal, Sure. It's like, it's very corporate-y, it's kind of businessy. If you're in someone's Facebook chat, or if you're like in SMS, that's still kind of technically the same thing. Sure. It feels a lot more personal, and kind of like you said, it's a lot more instant gratification. People generally reply to a text or a message faster than an email. So I definitely think it has the potential. Obviously, it doesn't work for every business, and every business's sales process is going to be a little different, but I've definitely seen some positive conversions from using them with a few businesses.
Yeah. And I think people need to understand, like my personal, I guess, opinion here, and you're the expert at this, so I'll leave it to you. But a lot of companies, I feel, if they're small businesses listening, might go and run some ads on this, but make sure you have the people in place to respond to these things, okay? Because you don't want to pay for a bunch of people knocking on the door and there's nobody home, all right? And that's really important. So like you mentioned before, that's a great point, Lucas, making sure that the systems and the processes are there first, because if not, you can't build a house around without the wood and the infrastructure around it. So that's definitely important to make sure that you get that. Hey, you can make it rally, but if you don't have that, it doesn't mean you still can't test it out for the hours that you might be in the office or the people that are in the office. So what do you, we talked a little bit about how you're in business right now, and it seems like you have some great clientele going on. Do you have a niche kind of like type of business that you work with?
Yeah, for a long time, we only worked with e-commerce businesses.
Okay, cool.
Mainly people, direct to consumer, lower ticket stuff. Probably average price was maybe like $20 to $50.
Okay.
And now we've started to move into helping other service businesses. So we sell in what's called like the experts market. So coaches, consultants, other service providers, agencies, helping them set up lead and client acquisition systems within their own business.
Okay, very cool. You've the next question that I generally will ask the interviewees are the light at the end of the tunnel. Some, like I just spoke with someone recently, one of our past interviews that's been in business for 41 years, right? And has built, that's way down the road for you, but you're going to get there at some point. That's going to be awesome, by the way, but you're going to have a wealth of knowledge, but he started probably at a young age as well, which is really cool. So, one recently as well was 31 years old, but he started when he was in his early 20s, right? And he has 20-something employees, et cetera. So they kind of have the idea of where the light at the end of the tunnel is for them. What is the light at the end of the tunnel for you? Is it, listen, I want to build a cool company that's fun and it keeps exciting me, or is it, I want to build something that has value and exit?
Yeah, I think my goal right now is definitely to build a company, something that actually employs people and can help as many people as possible.
Yeah.
For a while, I was kind of going like unconsciously going like the lifestyle entrepreneur thing, which I think, a lot of freelancers and service business owners kind of fall into. They get a few clients maybe, and they're like, okay, this is comfortable income. And they just kind of coast along there for a while, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, I'm just like the sort of person that likes to see things like move forward. I like to see things grow, and I like to see like, okay, what's the next logical step from here? Right. And where I'm at, the next logical step is just to kind of keep growing, see how many clients we can work with, see how many businesses and entrepreneurs we can help grow. And then obviously building my own company, hiring first real employees and all that good stuff.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, the visionary approach is probably early in the game for you, but it's exciting to have that down the road. I think that's where it's like, I want to build a company that has some cool, fun company culture, and people are excited to come to work and to have people that actually have skill set, like how can you replicate yourself and that kind of jazz. And that definitely needs to happen once you start scaling up and building up and obviously getting more clients, because you only do so much. There's only so much time in the day. But, out of all, the successes that you've had, which is congratulations on those, by the way, that's awesome. And the failures, of course, that's something that we don't want to definitely forget to discuss. We did definitely discuss some of that already. What is the, a piece of parting advice that you'd give to our listeners today?
Yeah, I think for anyone that's like in what would be called like a red ocean or anything that would be a competitive market, which, the digital marketing space definitely is, you absolutely have to understand like where a customer or client's buyer sophistication is that. And I feel like there's so many like blog posts, there's so many courses, there's so many classes on people teaching like, okay, here's how to get clients, here's how to write ads, here's how to do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like it's any sort of business where you're trying to acquire customer, acquire client is kind of meeting people where they're at. And, personal example, business owners get pitched all the time for like marketing services. I'm sure you have like tons of emails in like your junk folder, just like, oh, we can get you more traffic from Google, or like we can help you expand your exposure and just all this stuff. And the easiest way to kind of like break through the noise and just establish rapport is just understand like where the market is at in terms of that. Like a really simple example of this, if I like was writing a cold email and I started it off with like saying like, hey, I'm sure you get like 10 other of these emails in your inbox every day, then immediately this guy like understands like, okay, he might not have anything to offer, but like at least he understands my unique position, which,
That's right.
It's just a really simple thing.
You're being like what you just mentioned, I think is there's a lot of cold emails out there, but the ones that I do read are very sympathetic. Like you just mentioned, like, I get it. You're getting a lot of these, right? And we go back to copy on that. There's a lot of clickbait that you can create out there, right?
Yep.
We've done some really cool ads. We do group travel across the country, and we do it for college undergraduate students. And yeah, we can put a hot chick and have clickbait all day. We could, right? And we have, but they have a message behind it. But in reality, not what converts. More like branding stuff, right? So understanding what you're trying to do and telling people where to go is one thing. And also I think making sure that when they go there, they get what the ad actually says, right? You're not trying to con them into something differently in some landing page about, something different than you actually kind of threw out there, because you kind of really, if anything, devalue your brand at that point. You're wasting your money. So really quick here, in terms of the breakdown on what you feel marketing wise on how you might be able to help some people, tell them where to go, right? Like you have a website where they can find you and maybe some social media.
Yep. So main website is simply growthcave.com. We have some free training on there for, business owners that are maybe looking to dip their feet in the water in Facebook ads.
Okay.
And we have like contact information, obviously, if you're looking to get more help. Other than that, probably main social media platform for me is Twitter, where I'm just at Lucas Lee Tyson, all one word. Awesome.
Well, Lucas, thank you for your time and the knowledge that you dropped here. I hope you keep getting some people some conversions out there. And in the meantime, guys, check out his website. You'll see those in the show notes.
Awesome.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Liebus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.